House of the Dragon Season 1 made me feel hopeful for the series. Season 2 made me feel worried. But Season 3 made me feel something I've never felt before. Welcome back, everyone. We're here today to talk about House of the Dragon Season 3. And it was an experience. We're going to be talking more about my thoughts on the season, the things that I enjoyed, and the elements I think could be improved upon as we head towards the final season. But before we get into it, I would love to know, how do you feel going into this final season? Do you think it will be worthy of the Iron Throne, or will it go up in flames? See what I did there? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below, because I would love to hear where you're at and what your expectations are. Let's start off by giving the flowers where they are due. I would like to say, in comparison to Season 2, something that I really appreciate about Season 3 is that this season had way more of a finale. Like, things actually happened in the finale. We went out with a bang, whereas in Season 2, we meandered and meandered and meandered, and then the season just kind of ended. And they're like, we're going to war. And you're like, I know, we've been doing that for 2 seasons now. But finally in Season 3, the war is happening. In fact, a lot is happening in this season. Now, that is not to say that all of it is good. In fact, there are elements where I feel like we've made a mockery of our characters. There are character choices that are happening here that are very questionable. For Rhaenyra, for Alicent, for Rhaena, for Helena, for a lot of the ladies, to be honest with you. A lot of the female characters, what is going on with what they're doing this season? Why? Huh? But not all the characters that I was raising my eyebrow at were ladies. There are also characterizations of people that I'm just a little bit confused by. I'm a little confused as to what are we supposed to like about a lot of these characters at this point. I don't know. We don't have much left. We have Ormond Hightower, who I just felt was a whole caricature of a character. It wasn't even a full character. It was just a caricature. And then Aemond is also doing some questionable things in this season. At least Aegon had a good arc, though. I gotta give that to him. Overall, it felt a lot of the season was mostly focused on spectacle without having quite as much substance. But at least the spectacle that we had in many ways was entertaining to watch. I'll give them that. Season 1 was set up. Season 2 was set up. Season 1 was like really compelling setup. Season 2 was, I feel like we're stalling. And now Season 3, it's a lot of explosive action. So from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, there is a lot happening in terms of the actual fighting, but still a lot of questionable decisions. And also a lot of questionable decisions in terms of this as an adaptation. We'll touch on that a little bit more in a bit. At this point, I feel we've gone so far off script from what I hear of the book. To be fair, I still haven't read it myself yet. I'm waiting till the show is done. When it's done, I will read the book and I will be back because I'm sure I will have a lot of thoughts on that. But I know we have gone so far away from what was originally written. I don't even know where we go from here. And that is both a pro and a con at the end of Season 3. It's nice to not really know where the show is going and get ready to be surprised. But on the other side, it's also concerning that I don't know where the show is going and that I have no choice but to be surprised. Because why people do certain things, I couldn't tell you. I don't even know what they're gonna do next because I don't understand what they're doing now. And there was a lot of inconsistency in this season that I struggled with. The unique experience I had in Season 3 that I referred to in my intro is that I have never watched a show and experienced so much whiplash. My neck hurts from watching House of the Dragon Season 3. I experienced episode whiplash, the likes of which I've never experienced before. I didn't even know this could be a thing. From one episode to the next, it felt like we were moving from something that was great to something that was terrible. And the fact that this is all from one team of writers, I don't think the war is quite over in the writer's room. It's still ongoing. It may be ongoing throughout all of Season 4 as well. Now, granted, there is still a lot that House of the Dragon does really well, and that it has maintained since the beginning of the show. And that, of course, is production value. We are talking about gorgeous sets, gorgeous props, so much attention to detail in the little elements of the world that show up in settings. There's also a lot of just gorgeous cinematography in this show, and there is music to carry us through a lot of these emotional beats, which do land because the acting and the setting and all of the production are still doing all of that work. But then when you listen to what's happening, when you're watching it and you're swept up in the emotion, you're like, oh my goodness. And then you listen to the words on the page in some instances, and it's just like, lol, what? There are so many characters here as well that we just don't even bother to introduce. So it's not just a lol what in terms of the story, but it's also lol who. There are characters we're introduced to, but we're never really introduced to them. Like, for example, Black Allie, who is hugely important to the history of Westeros, especially if you're a fan of anything that's going down in the north. And yet we don't explain who she is in this show. She just shows up. We don't even do the coat of arms properly for her family based on what has already been established. So there's a lot that is confusing in this series just in terms of who we're seeing on the screen. And I understand it's a lot of characters to keep up with. There's a lot going on. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, Amanda, there is a lot going on, and how can we really keep up with everyone? Because there's just so many characters who are important in this story. And I hear you. I mean, there have been some shows out there that have had a lot of characters, and I will say that for those shows, maybe they just did a little bit of a better job of introducing people. Especially what comes to mind is a little show you may be familiar with. You may have heard of this one, Game of Thrones. A show that was known for having so many characters, and yet all of those characters are introduced. We understand who they are. In fact, pretty much all of them have extensive character arcs. Even some of the side characters that we get, they are extremely involved just in terms of the storytelling and making them feel important. Making it feel as though I don't need to have read the book to understand who everyone is. And I guess maybe House of the Dragon is thinking, you know, I bet everybody's already read the book. It's already out. Game of Thrones has been a huge part of pop culture, and a lot of people have probably gone back and read A Song of Ice and Fire and read Dance of Dragons, and so they'll be fine, right? I'm gonna be real, House of the Dragon. I think a lot of the book readers may have checked out at this point, just based on what I've heard some of my friends who have read the books saying about this and their opinions on it. However, even if you do have some left, we shouldn't have to rely on the book to tell the story. It's weird to have a show that feels like it can totally do its own thing, and yet also is relying on you reading the thing to understand who these people are. What I will say is something that this show has made me really excited for when I do get to the book, and something that I think the show has done a great job of giving us a character that I really care about, and that I actually feel, for the most part, is still a pretty compelling character. They're a character I care about. I care what happens to them. They have a sense of honor, and that is, of course, Corlys. Corlys has become my new favorite character, even though I started this show really loving Daemon because I'm a big Matt Smith fan. Matt Smith is my doctor from Doctor Who. He has always been my favorite. And I also just love Matt Smith as an actor. I think he does a great job. And I do still love him as Daemon. But I gotta say, Daemon is small potatoes compared to Corlys this season. I think Corlys is on a great journey. I can't believe he's survived this long. And I hope he makes it to the end of season 4. I'm really rooting for him. It made me a big fan of the character. Just the overall journey we've been on with this guy. And just how much he still manages to stand up and represent some bigger ideals than just his own selfish interests. Although, you know, he still has some of those moments too, don't we all? Overall, I think something season 3 improved upon in comparison to season 2 is we have a lot of good pacing in this season, and there is some really good momentum. You actually feel the season moving forward. You feel everything ramping up. And so that is something that season 3 did well. I mean, we built up to quite a moment, to the point of Rhaenyra's crash out, which we see in our finale here, with this amazing look that Rhaenyra dons, and the girl's crashing out, but at least she looks flawless while doing it, you know? What will the future hold for her? I honestly have no idea. What will the future hold for anyone? I don't know. What I know is there's still a lot left that goes on in terms of the histories. So season 4, I expect to be action-packed. I'll be back for it. I don't know how we're going to fit everything in, because I hear there is a lot left to fit in. But what I will say is that while I will be back for season 4, this was still a very mid-season for me. Season 3, there were elements of it that I enjoyed, don't get me wrong, but there is so much that I just questioned why we're making some of these choices here. And the reality is, even though I'll be back for season 4, part of that is also because I'm just really invested in this world at this point. I loved Game of Thrones when it was on. The final season was disappointing, but Game of Thrones led me to the books. I love the books. And then I also just watched A Night of the Seven Kingdoms more recently, and that show is actually amazing. If you want a show that is from this world, this universe, and you haven't watched A Night of the Seven Kingdoms yet, please go watch that show, because that show is actually some of the best that I think we've ever seen in the Game of Thrones universe. I think I may even like it better than Game of Thrones, which is kind of crazy. I also feel like in watching season 3, there were a lot of moments that made me appreciate everything that we built and everything that I loved about season 1 of this show. So I may even go back and watch House of the Dragon season 1, and maybe I'll do that here and we can talk about it, and maybe you could join me. I don't remember if I even covered season 1 on my channel when that was coming out. That may have been before I was making regular content, so I think that would be fun to revisit. So let me know if you're down for that down in the comments. And what I will say about season 3, although this is not something that speaks to anything that they had in their control for the season, it doesn't necessarily speak to the merit of the show, but the memes have been so good. I think it makes me want to love season 3 even more, even though I know the memes don't actually inform on the quality of the show. But so many memeable, iconic moments. So that is something maybe I should say we're doing well. Or maybe it's just the fandom. The fandom is on fire when it comes to memes right now. So I want to say thank you to everyone involved in making those sweet, sweet memes for House of the Dragon Season 3. I have been eating well, and I'm not even a big meme lord, but I've really been loving going through all that content. Also, HBO, House of the Dragon, their social media has actually been on fire. If you haven't been checking some of the stuff they've been posting, some of the stuff with Ulf lately too, so funny. I'm dying. So at least there are some good lulz, but will there be a return to the high drama that we really felt in season 1? I don't know. I hope so. I hope we'll be able to recapture some of that magic as we close the cycle and finally finish out House of the Dragon next season, which I guess I'll probably see you in 2 years for, because that's just how long it takes to make this dang show. But until then, friends, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know your thoughts on this season down in the comments below, and hopefully I will also see you back for more content. We're going to be covering Andor over here. I definitely want to maybe go back and check out House of the Dragon Season 1. I'm going to be talking about some other HBO shows that I love, like hopefully Rome soon. I shouldn't overpromise, but I really want to talk about Rome. So stay tuned. There will be more content for you to enjoy. And until next time, friends, as always, you stay nerdy. Bye! And if you want to hear me talk about some more excellent high drama right now, you can check out more of that by clicking right over here.